we are going to talk again about space management, but now we are encroaching to the way of doing things in managing space by utilizing the chargeback activities to relate back to the how can we manage space efficiently. I think I have a slide that's shared talk about space chargeback. So before further ado, I would like to thanks to people that's participating for tonight sharing session. And again, we are still talking about the space management activity, and we are now focusing about the space chargeback. So the modern office space today is no longer about cubicles, where each employee spend every moment within the boundary of the office unit. And these days, employees are very mobile, especially during COVID-19. And with the mobile nature of our current workforce, employee can work anywhere as long as they have a Wi-Fi and as long as they have laptops and internet connection. So in this situation, whether an organization owns its building or lease their office in the building, they find that space is very expensive. And that is become a major factor in the operating budgets. And then, of course, to ensure this, to ensure efficient use of space, many organizations internally builds department for the space that they occupy, as well as their share of the floor or a building common space. This process known as a space chargeback. So the intention is to ensure the efficient way and to ensure the efficient use of a space, where from the bills, we can make sure that everybody appreciating their space and make use their space efficient compared to if you are not feeling there is a cost involved to the space that you use. For example, the space in your house, because nobody charging you on your space in your house, so sometimes we are not really use the space effectively, or maybe we don't bother to, or we don't appreciate about the space that we have, because nobody charging us. So we have whether we have the bigger space or empty space, so since there is no cost, we don't relate with the cost that related to that space, so we make use the space not efficient. Okay. Normally, the streamline space chargeback process, how is the department manager want to handle this, so then people will appreciate their space. When department managers are internally billed for their use of space, they are more willing to reduce the space due to the inefficient space, or use their own space efficiently. When space manager eliminate the inefficient use of space, space efficiency typically improve throughout the entire organization, and the space costs are reduced. And also, not only it can produce significant reduction in the space itself, but also in associated with the occupancy costs, such as the utility bills, the housekeeping costs, taxes, and others that comes together with the space activity. We don't feel it, because maybe we have ample space and we start open the lighting on the air conditioning systems, and when we realize that nobody are actually using their space, and the electricity costs keep on running. And at the end of the month, we pay unnecessary bills. By having a space chargeback, we can streamline, we can manage better space in efficiency mode. And at the same time, due to the we figure out there is a cost relate to that, so we actually want to make sure that we use space accordingly, and we start to appreciating whatever space that we have, and then we start to return back unnecessary space to the other organization for them to use. But how to do this streamlining space chargeback process? One of the ways to streamline the chargeback process is by using a tools for setting up and calculating it, and also come up with the report for the cost of the space. By having that, we need to automate the internal recharge process, thereby saving administrative time. And at the same time, we can generate the space recharge figure accurately and more reliable. And the thing is that we also will generate the shared common area data by having a prorated data, and to prorate the space size and charge to everybody. And then lastly is to store chargeback information in a central repository that can be accessed by the key stakeholder using a corporate networks or internet. For example, in these reports that we show to you, so it's a view of financial statement by division. Then we know that there will be many division and department under the there are many division or department that actually benefit to a certain numbers of the space that they have, and then they will start the space manager start charging based on their size of the space, and also what are the costs that comes with the space that they use. So by having that, so you can see that from the division, for example, on the screen, from the division code, which is electronic system, so they've been charged for the cost of 1,063,814 US dollar for the area of 55,283.72 square feet, which is consists of the room area for the 53,276 square feet. But how this figure came out? This figure came out from the space that they occupied. And inside that space that they occupied, they also have 2,000 square feet for the common area, and then they also identified that 665 square feet area is being occupied as a common area, and then the balance is non-occupiable common area, which consists of 1,342 square feet. So this information, normally they got it from the floor plan. They measure the, I think last couple of weeks ago, we learned how to measure the space area. So, and we make use of the space size because of we want to start charging to the people that own the space or use the space. So, and from last couple of week exercise, we talk about how to measure the space, and this week we talk about what are the benefit of the figure that we came out when we do a space measurement, and this is the reason why we want to measure the space, because we want to start charging it. There is a two-way of chargeback methods. One is the space chargeback related to the transactional, and the other one is that space chargeback from a non-transactional data. What is the space chargeback transactional? Okay. Because of the nowadays with flexible working schedules, employee often share offices. One employee can occupy an office for 2 days a week, and meanwhile, the others will use the remaining 3 days. If these two employees are from a different department, their use of the room should be divided proportionately between the two departments. So each day, an office house employee of a different department, like software department, occupied 50% of the rooms. Meantime, marketing department occupied 20% of the rooms, and account department only occupied 20% of the rooms. For accurate chargeback analysis, the cost of this room should be distributed among these three departments by a percentage. For rooms that are not shared, leave the defaults of the 100% times and 100% space usage. So this is we call it a space transactional. Department are charged for a shared space according to a time amount of time they use the space, or the percentage amount of space that they occupy. So who is this for actually? This is meant for the site with a high percentage of shared offices, and also site for which space is expensive and an exact accounting of space use is required. Another method of this space chargeback is we call it space chargeback for non-transactional. So normally, facility manager can add cost information to space inventory data and charge department for the space that occupied based on each departmental assignment. To charge department for their rooms, facility manager must extend the basic inventory data like cost for space per square feet or cost of space per square foot. The space chargeback process handles situations such as this so that departments are charged for the shared space according to the amount of time the use of the space, or the amount of space that they use with the shared room. And this is particularly important for sites in which space is very expensive and require a detailed accounting for the exact space for each time they've been charged. I think that one is for the transactional, but the difference between for non-transactional, one, a space inventory composed of group or department area on the floor, room, or a mixed post is developed in rooms and group associated with the department. Facility manager can add cost information to this data and charge department for the space that occupied based on each group and the room department assigned. Like a cost of space per square foot or designating common area by setting the prorated fields. Running the chargeback calculation vice versa, whether there is for the floor, building, site, and then from there they go for prorated. So they divide numbers of the area. They divide to numbers of the space that they utilize. In order to charge department for their rooms and group, the facility manager might extend the basic inventory data by entering cost of the space per square foot, designating common area, and running the chargeback calculation. Just divide by the numbers of space that we have. So they call it prorated. A key component of the chargeback process is to divide the cost of common area to the department's use of this area. This is to ensure the cost of all common area is covered by department using this area. Okay, to charge the department for their shared common area, normally they set prorated to a none if the area is not a shared area, or if an area is part of the building structure, or the floor, if the area is shared by department on the floor, or the shared by all department within the building, and lastly, if the area is shared by department across the site. So space chargeback for non-traditional, normally department are charged for the shared space according to the each room department assigned and proportional share of a common area. So normally this meant for any site that have a basic room inventory, group inventory, or mixture of both. When the space inventory is developed and rules are adjusted within the department, facility manager can add cost of this data and charge the department for the space that they occupy based on the size of the each group and the room that they've been assigned. And after that, we're able to create a chargeback report, and then from there we can come up with the chargeback analysis reports, financial statement by divisions, prorated reports, and also remaining area reports. So this report present calculated area and cost for a building, floor and room. By select a building, you can examine such area. You can examine such area information as the total group area, occupiable area, and non-occupiable area, or non-occupable common area, and the total service area. So examine the floor within this building, and you can see the important area information, including remaining area for each floor. If any of the floor area values strike you as too large or too small, for example, you are surprised at the amount of common area for a particular floor that be assigned to you, then you can examine the group and the rooms that contribute to this common area. For example, like the floor, like the report here, for the building, the total occupiable department area is 44,000. And then when you go for the floor, you can see that for the second floor, the total occupiable area for a department is 21,000. Meanwhile, the remaining area is only 4,641. You can see that also in the room and the group of the floor area for this department, is meant for the software solution, which is consists of the Department of Accounting. And Department of Accounting area is only 143. So you can see that how big is the area that is occupiable by a department, maybe for the particular floor, and they are actually the size area is only 143. You can see these are the big the big difference about the buildings, the floor, and the numbers of the room or the group of the floor put for the second floor. And this ultimate goal of the standard space chargeback process is to present a department or a division with a financial statement of the cost of the space that they occupy or they use. The department or division can then be internally billed for the space and use this report to provide each division a breakdown of the cost of the space for each department. By drilling down from the division to department to the rooms and the group, department and division manager can see the exact area records that contribute to their space bill. And this report presents the chargeback cost of the space and the total amount of area for which the department is being charged. If the department manager requires a breakdown of the chargeback area, they can examine the individual rooms and the group assigned to their department. And for each room and group, they can move across the report to see the size of this area and each area corresponding to share of the common area and the service area. Okay, these reports present how common area are prorated to department across the site within the building. With this report, you can see in one place how your common area are prorated. To department across the site within the building or on the floor. The report organizes common area by their prorated value so that you can see all common area they are distributed to department across the site, and all common area are distributed to department within the building, and all the common area that are distributed to department on the same floor as the common area. The report total the common area for each prorated value so that you know how much area is distributed across the site, building or floor. You can see here the total area report for the prorated for building is 3,264. So I mean, they use this to prorated the figure to each of the for each of the lobby across the building. You know? So because this cost needs to be prorated to each of the users for the buildings. So this cost have a I mean, this size or this lobby have a maintenance cost that been prorated to everybody that actually utilizing the building. Same goes to the mechanical rooms, men, toilets for women and men, a reception area, and electrical rooms and custodial rooms. So this is the common area. Then we pick up this figure and then we prorate it and then we charge to all the people that utilizing the building or utilizing the space in that particular building. It's very easy actually when we have this kind of system, and it's easy for us to calculate and to identify what are the common area, and then we get the figure and then we can easily prorate it and we can charge back to the each of the individual that utilizing the space in that particular building or in that particular floor. And because somebody have to bear the cost for this common area, because it's been shared by everybody, and everybody need to contribute the sum of money to pay for the maintenance cost of this particular area, because everybody are utilizing this area. And it's very subjective, depends how you want to, if you get this figure and you want to prorate it and then you want to start charging, to where, to whom that you can charge, is up to you and how you want to manage it. But the most important thing is that you know the information, and when there is people dispute about it, you can show this as a result. This is what is the basis of the prorated reports that I produce. And there is another report, that we call it remaining area report. Department manager examining the charge space may question facility manager or space manager about the remaining area on the floor, or which the department is being proportionately charged. By using this remaining area report to determine the amount of area that was not captured in the space inventory and is being charged to the department. This report shows the remaining area for each floor and some remaining area on to the building. For detail on the rooms and group of each floor, you can select a floor to see a component rooms and groups. Like it's like a drill down. For example, you have a building for AB. When you drill down the floor of the building AB, you can get the numbers of floor for the AB and also the internal gross area that you have, total room area that they have, a remaining area that is not being charged to anybody. And in that particular floor, you also have information about the total vertical penetration area, comprised of 2.3 thousand square meter, and then service area comprised of 15,123 square meter, and compared to the internal gross area that you have, like 48,642 square meter. So total room area means that this is the room that you've been occupied, and then this is the remaining area is not being occupied. And we also identified that from this internal gross area, we also identified that the total vertical penetration area is 2,362. This may be a lift shaft or a staircase, or a void, And then you also identified that there is a service area like with mechanical rooms, electrical room, consists of 15,123. So when you drill down, like you drill down the AB first floor, so you can identify the size of the room in that particular floor. Like maybe room code 101, the area is 716, and then the workstation for 51 square feet. For the another workstation 103, 457 square meter. So this is the drill down. So you can view the remaining area in detail. Because of the cost of the space and the goal to maximize its use, many sites wish to account for every area on the floor. A significant remaining area can indicate that the room and the group point were not accurately drawn, and space manager may ask the CAD specialist to return to drawing and to start to really calculate what are the actual size and to capture back all the missing area. Sometimes we can calculate the remaining area by internal gross area minus the total area that they have, and then the total area will add with the total group areas. So then we can sum up the figure of the total area that they calculate. So basically, this is the fundamental way how can we use the space chargeback. Even though if we don't have the system like I have, you still can calculate manually. And the important thing is that you need to have this measurement for each of the space size that you have in your particular building. in order for you to perform a space chargeback. Without the correct information, without the correct calculation or without the correct measurement, you will end up dispute between the department or the building or the room owner. So that's where for the previous session, we encourage people when they want to conduct this space management activity, they need to have a standard guiding principle, how they want to perform the measurement and how they want to come out with the figures, what are the standards they need to use to minimize the dispute, and for them to come up with the right figures to show to everybody that utilizing the space. And from there, when you start to charge people, and seeing that you already conduct the right way of doing things on space management, and your space inventory are perfect and correct and accurate, and when you start charging it, this information, because this information based on the certain standards and policy, when they come for the dispute, so they will be reduce the time to dispute, and then people will understand how you calculate things in your performing a space management activity, and there will be no bigger dispute in terms of figures anymore, and you can start collecting or you can start charging this to their accounts and can get the money out from their budget to use this money to perform the proper maintenance activity to their spaces. So that's the whole idea why we conduct a space chargeback. It's not just because of that we want to make sure that they appreciate the space, but we want to ensure that the budget be allocated accordingly, especially in terms of maintenance activity for that particular building or for that particular floor or for that particular room. So then by having that, we can get a proper budget to maintain the buildings, to maintain the spaces. Otherwise, you need to establish other methods. How can you get the budget or the allocation for maintenance? And at the same time, how can you distribute the cost of the maintaining the space to others for them to chip in the cost for maintenance? So I think that's all my slide for tonight. If you have any question relate to this tonight, feel free to add to the chat box for me to provide the answer. Or any question? Jeffrey, you have any question?
Currently, I don't have.
Do you form any chargeback before in Indonesia?
For the chargeback, actually one company, they actually uses the chargeback module, but it's not cost chargeback. It's actually they use the space chargeback.
Okay, we have a question from the chat. Does a facility management department have to work with the finance department in order to define the space chargeback model before they start? Yes, okay, to answer to this, basically yes, because they need to be agreed, what are, when you want to come up with a figure, and then this figure need to be distributed to among the department that they manage, and to be agreed by all parties. And this is the mode of the charging that they want to impose to each of the department. And from there, the finance will use this as a basis to distribute the maintenance cost, or to capture the cost and to distribute accordingly to each of the department. Okay, second question. Thank you, Amalina. If there are any policy that control the chargeback of an organization. Okay. Basically, I don't see whether they have a policy in relation to control the chargeback. But it's subject to how the management of the organization want to impose and create that as a policy to ensure that everybody are appreciating the space. The higher the better, because, for example, if you have a bigger space, and then definitely the chargeback is bigger based on the size that you have. So if you don't use your space accordingly, might as well surrender the space to the festive manager, and you just use the space that been assigned to you efficiently. Then definitely you will reduce the chargeback that been imposed to you by the finance department relate to the operation budget later on. Otherwise, you will pay some amount of money unnecessarily, and you only occupy a small area compared to the bigger size of the area that been assigned to you. And so, if looking about the budget, so definitely when you prepare a budget, so seeing that your department occupying a bigger chunk of the space, meanwhile you only use a small size of the space that been occupied. So it's good if you can surrender the space to the facility management department, and they can offer to others to make use the space. Otherwise, your budget will be cut, or the bigger chunk of your budget be allocated to maintaining your space that you are actually not really fully used. So I don't think any policy, standard policy to control this chargeback is really dependent of the organization, how they want to control it. I heard there is some university charge extra penalty if you have if you have extra space that not been occupied and not being used by others, and been registered to you, so there will be a penalty because of them you not utilizing your space properly. So this is the encouragement of the people that have a bigger space but only use a small area to return or to surrender back the space to the facility management department. So from there, it make the space management planning more easier and less, you don't need to create a new project due to the other people request for space, meanwhile you have the extra space that is not being used. So actually this space chargeback is good. It's good to be practiced. So from there, maybe we will appreciate about the space that we use, and we don't request more space. And yeah, by having that, you can save energy, save lighting usage, the space air conditioning usage. And meanwhile, if you have ample space, you can offer to others to make use of your space. I think that's one of the good things of this space chargeback. Of course, people that been charged because of the bigger space that they have and they are not utilizing it, they will feel this space chargeback is not really good for them. So I think that's all from me for tonight. So thank you everyone for joining our short webinar.